Good evening and welcome to my talk on the Surrey butterfly year. My name is Richard Stevens and I've been interested in butterflies since childhood, but it has become a passion since I retired. I'm a member of the BC Surrey Committee, walking 2 transects each week from April until the end of September, and I've led numerous butterfly walks over the past 5 years. The last 2 years have been very difficult with lockdowns, restrictions. This year was also very challenging weather-wise. This presentation will take you through the Surrey butterfly year with photos of every species. In addition to this year's photos, I have drawn on my records from the past 5 years. I will describe my favourite butterfly locations in Surrey and some of the field trips which the Surrey branch runs from April until September, plus a few surprises, so I hope you enjoy my talk. Up to 44 species of butterflies were seen this year in Surrey, with an additional 2 or 3 sightings of rare species possible in some years. More of these later. Butterflies that overwinter as adults can be seen on warm, sunny days throughout the winter, or if they're disturbed from hibernation in a shed, outbuilding, or even a cool room. The following butterflies overwinter as adults: peacock, small tortoiseshell, brimstone, and red admiral. On this slide, you can see the adult butterflies freshly emerged in late summer, followed by a photo of the same species the following spring. Note the paler colours and signs of wear and tear. Remember, they've been in hibernation for 6 months, so they look a little drab. And they're not the same butterflies, as far as I know. In previous years, someone in Surrey usually reports a red admiral sighting on New Year's Day to the Surrey Butterfly Conservation website. However, this year, 2021, the first recorded sightings were not until the 22nd of January, with a peacock seen at Hutchinson's Bank, a brimstone in Norbury Park and Woodmanstone, and a red admiral at Chertsey in mild weather. 2 days later, there was heavy snow and frosts. In February, single sightings of a peacock on the 5th and a small tortoiseshell on the 9th, and then a gap until the 20th to 23rd of February, when 14 brimstones, a peacock, and a red admiral were seen across the county. Red admirals do not often survive the Surrey winter, especially when it turns very cold in February, as they don't fully hibernate, instead waking on warm days throughout the winter. Most of the red admirals seen in the spring arrive as migrants from the continent in May. Here's a photograph I took of one in May this year in the garden, looking a bit battered from its trip. A butterfly year in Surrey usually starts in March and really gets going around the spring equinox on March the 20th. March is a good time to get out and start looking for butterflies, and you should have seen at least 1 or 2 by the spring equinox. Depending on the species, they need at least 13 degrees and bright sunshine to fly, although painted ladies and red admirals can be seen flying in lower temperatures as they have a mechanism to warm their flight muscles. Where are the best places to look? Well, any open green space with a nectar source of spring flowers or tree blossom will attract the common species. London's parks are a good place to start, being several degrees warmer than the surrounding countryside. As the temperatures rise and butterflies awake from their slumber through the winter, many of the first Surrey sightings are close to London, as the overwintering butterflies are awakened by strong sunshine and rising temperatures above 13 degrees. After hibernating for 6 months, they're ready for a drink. On the 9th of March, our chairman, Simon Saville, spotted a small tortoiseshell in Burgess Park in London, and I found my first butterfly of the year, a brimstone, basking in the sunshine at Lingfield Nature Reserve. My next butterfly was a peacock on the 19th of March in the garden. Finally, towards the end of the month, the weather turned warmer, so suffering from cabin fever due to the lockdown, I joined a colleague at Headley in bright sunshine on the 22nd, jabbed, masked, socially distanced and outside, where we found 3 peacocks, 6 brimstones and 3 commas in the warm sunshine. On the same day, the first small white was seen at Colshorten. On the 29th, the holly blue was seen in Woking, and the first sightings of orange tips at Leatherhead, West Ewell, Howell Hill, Hydestyle near Godalming. Male orange tips are one of the first butterflies to actually emerge in spring, having overwintered as a pupae. They can be seen flying on warm sunny days, almost never stopping while the sun is shining. Only the males have the orange wingtips. After a few days, the males have set up territories and are seeking out the black wingtip females, which emerge a few days later. Here you can see a female orange tip, like the black wingtips. And on the stem over here, you can just see an orange dot, which is actually an orange tip's egg, which it must have laid earlier. You might find a female roosting on a patch of cuckoo flower or garlic mustard. The females have black wingtips and can easily be mistaken for small whites or green vein whites, which fly at the same time. It can be difficult to distinguish one from the other when flying, unless they're perched and you can see the underside. Here is a green vein white, and you can see the black wingtips are the same. Here's another photo of a green vein white taken in summer for comparison. Green vein whites favour damper areas. On the 1st of April, the first green vein white was seen at Spines Mere Nature Reserve near Merstham, which used to be an old gravel pit. The first speckled woods were also seen at Beddington and Richmond Park. The speckled wood is unusual as the autumn brood can overwinter as a larvae or a pupae, so successive broods fly throughout the summer and into late autumn as it is multi-brooded. A large white was seen on the 4th of April. Then, as so often happens, it was another false start to spring. April was sunny and dry, but with cold north winds and overnight frosts nearly every night. It was the coldest April in Surrey since records began. Transects were delayed. The cold weather and lack of rain meant that plants did not grow, so any early species which ventured out could not find nectar to feed on or food plants to lay on. I had to wait until the 19th of April for my next butterfly sightings on my transect on Oxted Downs, with 19 brimstones, 3 orange tips and 7 peacocks. Peacocks were especially numerous this year, despite the cold nights in April, with many seen on various sites. Recent data from Holland says 2021 is the best year for peacocks for 20 years. The first grizzled skipper was seen on Oxted Downs on the 17th of April. Oxted Downs face south and are sheltered from the cold north wind. Grizzled skipper is found along the chalk hillsides of the North Downs, and some of the best places to see this butterfly are Denby's hillside and Hutchinson's Bank near Croydon. Here is a photo of a grizzled skipper, Abtara, taken at Hutchinson's Bank in 2019. You can see the elongated markings on the wingtip, which denote it's an aberration. An aberration is a butterfly with unusual wing markings or colours. The dingy skipper usually emerges a few days after the grizzled. with a first sighting at shear on the 22nd. Grizzled skippers overwinter as a pupae and are the first spring skippers to emerge, whereas the dingy skipper, pictured here, overwinters as a caterpillar and pupates in late March or early April, depending on how early spring is. This is a mating pair. The dingy skipper is more widespread than the grizzled and can be found in various habitats where the grass and sward is short and its main food plant, bird's-foot trefoil, is abundant. However, it can use horseshoe vetch on warm downland. The grizzled skipper food plant is wild strawberry, agrimony, or creeping cinquefoil. If you would like to see one, early May is a good time to venture out on one of the BC Surrey spring trips, such as Denby's Hillside in the second week of May, or Hutchinson's Bank, which is the middle of May, where you can find these butterflies sunning themselves on bare earth and rapidly flying up to challenge any other passing insects. On the 19th, the first green hair streak was seen on Denby's Hillside, with another one on the 23rd in Richmond Park. On the downs, the small green hair streak can be spotted when perched, angling their emerald green wings towards the sun. Green hair streaks are found all along the North Downs, and Denby's is one of the best places to see these little gems. One of my favourite sites is Denby's Hillside, which is just to the north of Dorking. This is one of the best sites in Surrey, with a south-facing hillside and various habitats. The first sightings of several butterflies are often recorded here. This photo was taken from White Down, and you can see Renmore Church in the distance and the hillside, which this area is one of the best places to search. Several painted ladies were seen in April, on the first at Blanchford Downs near Abenjahammer, then another at Barnes on the 22nd, Riddlesdown on the 25th, and at the Oval in central London on the 26th. Painted lady is usually the first migrant butterfly to arrive in the UK. They overwinter in North Africa and migrate north in spring towards Europe. Helped by southern winds, in some years there can be many thousands of butterflies which have migrated from North Africa, breeding on the way in Spain and France, and their offspring continuing the migration north, reaching the UK in May and June. They breed here and then continue their migration north, some reaching Iceland in favourable years. In the autumn, their offspring migrates south back to North Africa via France and Spain. By May, the spring butterfly emergence is in full swing. The first small copper was seen on the 27th of April, and a small heath at Denby's on May the 1st. Once into May, the first brood common blues and brown argus are flying. First brood common blues and brown argus emerge at the same time in early May, sometimes as early as the 1st, although this year the first common blue and a brown argus were sighted on the 9th at Denby's, with another common blue on White Down to the west of Denby's Hillside. The male common blue, when freshly emerged, is a splendid insect in a bright blue furry coat. There's a brown argus. However, the female common blue, pictured here, can hold her own. Female common blues have varying amounts of blue on the upper wings, varying from almost blue like this one to nearly all brown. Common blue is followed by the Adonis blue, first seen on May the 11th at Denby's. Denby's hillside is the best place in Surrey to see this fabulous butterfly, although there are smaller colonies along the North Downs. Another of my favourite sites is Hutchinson's Bank. It's a popular site close to Croydon. It's also an early site with around 40 butterfly species being recorded every year. Parking is limited, but trams run frequently to and from Croydon and Wimbledon. And there are 2 BC trips in May which are well attended. Apart from grizzled and dingy skippers and green hairstricks, it's one of the best sites for small blues in Surrey, pictured here. They were first seen at Hutchinson's Bank, as you'd expect, on May the 11th. Here is a freshly emerged male covered in silver fairy dust, which disappears after a few days. You might also find a female egg-laying on the food plant kidney vetch. The second trip in May is busy with members looking to photograph a Glanville fritillary. Taking the ultimate close-up, or even closer. Glanville fritillaries can be seen here from mid-May, although it was May the 25th this year, as it was a late spring. Glanville's having established from an introduction a decade ago. Their main colony is on the south coast of the Isle of Wight, with another site in Surrey at Recklesham. Historical records report it being found in Dulwich in the 1700s, when it was known as the Dulwich Fritillary, and later as the Plantain Fritillary, before becoming the Glanville Fritillary. Hutchinson's Bank is noted for rare sightings, and the very rare large tortoiseshell butterfly was photographed by Liz Burgess, thank you for the photo, on the 12th and again on the 29th of May. They used to be a common sight in England, but disappeared in the 1950s. However, it has been found breeding again in the last couple of years in Dorset and also in Sussex. Also adjacent to Hutchinson's Bank is Chapel Bank, where sightings of the Duke of Burgundy were recorded on May the 7th and intermittently until May the 21st this year. This is a Duke of Burgundy ab Leucodes, and the Duke of Burgundy have not been seen in Surrey since 1997. An aberration is a variation of colour or markings from the norm. Oakham Wood. Another rare butterfly, the woodwhite, can only be found in Surrey in the Chiddingfold Forest at Oakham Wood and Sydney Wood, near the Sussex border, south of Dunsfold. There are 2 broods, first in May and the second in July, with the first sighting this year on the 9th of May at Oakham Wood. Recent conservation over the last 3 years has increased its range in this area. If you would like to see this butterfly, there is a Surrey trip in mid-May, and you can hear more about saving the woodwhite on a forthcoming BC talk on the 11th of January. In late May and early June, the golden skippers start to emerge. This large skipper was seen on May the 31st. Denby's followed a little later by small skippers, and here's 2 seen on Viper's Burgloss on Oxted Downs, and the Essex skipper on the 24th at Hurst Meadows and Ashted Common. Notice the black tips to the antennae underneath, which denote that it's an Essex skipper. Another one of my favourite sites is Epsom and Ashted Common. Epsom Common was formerly known for purple emperors. This is Epsom Common. But in 2020, black hair streaks were discovered there during the first lockdown. This year they emerged on June the 10th and were also seen on the adjacent Ashted Common. There's a field trip there in June to see them. There was a mating pair with two other interlopers, so it was an amazing photograph. By early June, all the spring broods are tailing off in the so-called June dip before the summer butterflies emerge. However, you can still find plenty of butterflies. Another favourite site of mine is Fairmile Common near Cobham. It's a special site for the rare silver-studded blue, which can only be found flying on a few heathland sites, where the food plant ling and bell heather grows. You could join the Surrey field trip in June to Fairmile Common to see these insects. And here's a male silver-studded blue, and you can see it's got nearly all the studs on the underneath of its wing. By the middle of June, the summer butterflies are emerging. Meadow browns, pictured here, are seen June the 5th at Hurst Meadows. Ringlets, which emerged June the 11th, Denby's hillside. And then marbled whites on the 13th of June. By the end of June, they're flying everywhere, announcing summer. Another favourite site, Bookham Common. This is a favourite site for white admirals, first seen this year, 15th of June, on Epsom Common, but they can be found flying in several locations at Bookham Common, which is one of their strongholds, and in other woodland habitats in Surrey. This is the white admiral, and you can join the field trip to Bookham Common at the end of June if you'd like to see them. White letter hairstreak, first seen this year, 13th of June, Tooting Common, is a canopy species. If you can find a sizable elm tree in your area, check it out in late June and July, as most elm trees support a small population. There used to be an elm tree near the cafe at the top of Box Hill, where this photo was taken in 2018. Sometimes they turn up in surprising places. This year, the only one I found was nectaring on wild marjoram at Headley. Another canopy species is the purple hairstreak. These photographs are from a trip to Ashted Common. Purple hairstreaks breed on oak trees. You can see one up in the canopy, a closer shot, and then a closer shot as it came down. And then finally, one with its wings partially open. So you notice it's a female, with the purple is only on the upper wings, whereas the male, which I'm still trying to get a good photograph on, is fully purple on the upper wings. By July, Surrey's largest butterflies are on the wing. The dark green fritillary first emerged 12th of June at Chapel Bank, and the silver wash fritillaries, which emerged 16th of June at Bookham. Good sites for the dark green fritillary are Chapel Bank near Croydon and Newlands Corner near Guildford, where I took this photo about 3 years ago, which shows a mating pair with a melanistic female on the top. The silver wash fritillary, pictured here, can be seen throughout the county, although Bookham Common is a hotspot. This is another silver wash fritillary, freshly emerged at Bookham Common. And here's two of them later in the season on Buddleia. Talking of Bookham Common, it's a favourite site for the white admiral. And the purple emperor, first seen this year on July the 2nd at Bookham. By the beginning of July, the hunt is on for purple emperors, one of our most spectacular butterflies. The males are normally found perched at the top of an oak tree. However, at the start of the flight season, you might be lucky to see a male on the ground feasting on fox poo or some other noxious substance. Males can extract mineral salts from the deposits, which boost their virility. They had a bumper year in 2019. However, there was a drought that summer, which caused the sallows to wilt, and then in 2020, high winds and storms throughout the flight period blew the adults out of the tops of the oak trees. The same disaster hit the purple hair streaks, which also gather in colonies at the tops of oak trees at the same time. Hopefully 2022 will be kinder to these species. In July, as the bramble flowers open, the gatekeepers appear. First the males seeking out a territory in a sunny spot, followed by the larger female a few days later. This is actually a male, denoted by the sex brands on the wing, which the female doesn't have. They're more orange. We come to a rare species, the grayling. In July, the grayling butterfly, with amazing camouflage, is flying on the Surrey heaths from Chobham Common to Camberley. The first one this year was photographed at Barossa Common on the 9th of July. They like hot, dry areas, nectaring on bell heather and ling. The larval food plant is sheep's fescue and various grasses. There's a Surrey trip to Dorney Heath in July. In late July along the North Downs, chalk hill blues are emerging. This year first sighted at Denbies on the 9th of July. There were hundreds flying by August and early September. Here you can see a male chalk hill blue on the right and the dark brown female on the left. Later in July, silver-spotted skippers emerge. This year, at July the 21st on Micklesham Down, and they are followed by a second generation Adonis blues in August, denoting the end of summer is approaching. You might be lucky to find a clouded yellow, although the first sightings May 29th at Merstham. Then on July the 19th, several were spotted from Denbies to Oxted along the North Downs. A further brood was reported in September at Denbies Hillside, Headley and Chipstead. You might be lucky to find a rare Halise form, such as these we found flying in July and September last year. The last butterfly to emerge is the rare brown hair streak, which emerges in July and August. This year the first male was seen on Epsom Common, July the 27th. They're never seen in large numbers. The males gather at the tops of ash and oak trees, nectaring on honeydew, and seldom venture to the ground. The females, which emerge later, can be found flying around stands of blackthorn and laying 1 or 2 eggs at a time on buds of healthy blackthorn shoots. A new hotspot was discovered at Tolworth Court Farm in September, and on the 21st there were 16 brown hair streaks recorded on the same day. An unusual sighting was reported on October the 6th, with a rare second brood white admiral seen at Chilworth. Possibly the final butterfly of 2021 was a red admiral in Dorking on November the 23rd, unless you know different. Other rarities seen in Surrey. Long-tailed blues have been seen occasionally since 2003 at Denbies, where they were spotted along the carriageway, feeding on everlasting sweet peas. They were spotted there again in 2014, when breeding colonies were also found along the Sussex coast, and they have since been seen most years along the Sussex coast. However, they can't survive our winter. In 2019, one was reported in Caterham, and then very surprisingly, I spotted an egg-laying female in my garden in Godstone, egg-laying on my everlasting sweet peas. Despite planting more everlasting sweet peas in our garden, there have not been any seen since. This year, there were only 2 sightings in Surrey, probably due to the cold late spring. September the 5th in Woking, Muslim Peace Garden, and on September the 18th at Cromhurst in South Croydon. The marsh fritillary is normally found on Salisbury Plain and further west towards Devon and Cornwall and Wales. It has recently been reintroduced just over the Surrey border in Hampshire at a secret location. During the lockdown, it mysteriously appeared on multiple sites in the southeast, possible breeding stock released. The wall brown, not seen in Surrey since 2011, one was seen last year on the Reigate and Collie walk on the 30th of July, so keep your eyes peeled for the wall brown. The European swallowtail was reported in a garden in Copthorne this July. Sightings are sometimes reported from the Sussex coast, where they bred in 2018 and successfully overwintered as pupae, emerging the following spring. There are also sightings from Dungeness this year. Large tortoiseshell, this one photographed at Hutchinson's Bank on the 12th and 29th of May by Liz Burgess. Thanks again for the use of her photo. They used to be a common sight, but disappeared in the 1950s, possibly due to Dutch elm disease. It has been found breeding again in the last couple of years in Dorset and in Sussex. Camberwell Beauty, seen every other year, very seldom in Surrey. However, one was reported at Ash on March the 25th in 2020. This is a short-tailed blue, photographed in Rotherhithe in August 2020 in central London. Thought to be a stowaway imported with vegetables from Europe. This is the underside. So, a rare butterfly can pop up anywhere, be it a rare migrant or, as frequently claimed, a non-authorised release. Perhaps you can discover a rare species or a new site. Keep your eyes peeled, your camera ready, and record the sighting. Thank you for listening.